another poorly recorded and poorly edited video from Dayho. This video is for a HPS performance cold air intake kit, so the paper says, but on the website they call it a short ram kit, whatever it is, go figure. Uh, anyway, first of all, I did not want to get this kit. I was trying to get their silicone coupler kit, and that's not what's here. This is kind of a homebrew until their kits are available, but every time I order, they're on seriously back order or something like that, so I just never stuck with the order because they'll probably never show up. Also, I use this silicone kit here with some, some drop-ins. I'll get you that brand name. Anyway, the drop-in air filters were kind of poorly made or just poorly designed, and they end up breaking both my air boxes underneath. I'll probably have some video of that as well. There's the air cleaners are underneath this ram thingy majiggy, air ram. Broke both those boxes, and by the time I replace all those parts, it will cost as much as the HPS kit. First things, just looking over, it comes with a, holy cow. Let's see. Also, what's weird is you go to their website and they say something like 16 or 17 horsepower and 16 torque added. Well, in this sheet they give us, I don't know if you can read that. I don't know if my camera can focus on it. On this dyno chart, I doubt it's for my tube specifically, they only add 10.2 wheel horsepower and 12.1 foot-pounds of torque. So I'm not in it for the horsepower, as promised. I do have the up rev tune on this guy, and it did pretty good, but I'm having some problems. And so by adding these intake tubes because of price, when I get the retune, hopefully we get a little more ponies out of that tune with the the cold air intake kit. Anyway, this is the same air intake kit for the 2011-2013 M56 5.6 liter V8, and also early model Q70s with the 5.6 liter V8. And here's the majority of the parts that comes with the kit. You have some 3 1/4 aluminum tubes. You have what they call a MAF sleeve. It's going to go in, let's see, where is that at? Here's where your mass airflow sensor will go in. This will go in there. It does reduce it from a 3 1/4 down to, let's see, down to about 2 point, oh my god, where's my camera? 2 point something. Let's see, let's do that again. Reduces it down to 2.8 almost, a little bit more than 2.8 inches. Let's see. Giving it the old scratchy test, it appears to be a glass-filled nylon, so that's going to be durable. So we got your intake tubes, the silicone couplers. Let's see, for vacuum situations, which, you know, when you're giving it gas, these aren't very strong. They're not much stronger than these Luhan sport tubes. These are pretty flimsy, and I think that's kind of that's actually hurting my performance. But these will not be, there won't be a lot of unsupported silicone, so they'll do. Came with some spring clamps. I don't really, these are nice. They're HPS branded. Looks like they're 100 to 80, I don't even know what that is, probably millimeters. Anyway, they are warm screw clamps. Don't really like those, but I went through my collection of various fancy T-bolt clamps and couldn't find anything that size, so I am going to use these. It comes with what they list as EPDM heater hose. This will take this will go from your air from your intake covers back into the tube. These are, can't think of the brand. I don't read. I don't know if that's Chinese, Mandarin, whatever, but I do have some nicer hose from this kit right here. It's kind of like a really firm fiber reinforced. I believe it's Continental brand, so I'll probably try to repurpose these as if I can. Let's see. And we got a bag of hardware, which is actually pretty well thought. We got some little adapters that are going to go where the air cleaner box goes, and then we got some more worm clamps. They appear to be HPS. Let's see. The tube, really pretty nice, pretty strong, but there is some oddities about it. I don't know if we can get in there. Let's see if I can get in there. That little thing that goes to the valve cover, there's some spotchy welding, but on the exterior it looks pretty well done. But that little weld, I've seen better on some eBay cold air intakes, and if you look just past that tube or that hole, you can see a butt weld. A little odd. I'm not really worried about losing cross-sectional area or any kind of airflow. I'm not that worried about trying to squeeze an extra pony here and there off these, because it won't matter anyway. But you can't see the weld on the outside. If you look hard enough, you might see it, but I don't know how they do it on the polished tubes. Maybe they do it a little different, but from this end, the same weld is way down there, so I'm not sure why they had to go with butt welds. It doesn't seem that complex of a shape. Oh, what else did I forget? Oh, these are little door trims that will go on the heat shields. And speaking of heat shield, here's the heat shield. It's going to get mounted where the air cleaner gets now. This will basically be a support for the air filter and the tube. I kind of wish I could keep the part of the air cleaner, and I'll show you why later in the video. But this will get bolted into, for some reason I got 4 of these little adapters. I don't know, I think there's a little strap or anything. Also in this kit, out of all that stuff, they did not include an instruction sheet. I actually have to print that out. It's available on their website, but odd. Let's see, that's the heat shield. Oh yeah, and the heat shield doesn't come in an option of colors as the tubes do. The paint is not the same, or the powder coat's not the same. This is kind of like your wrinkle or your crinkle paint you'll find on old-fashioned toolboxes. Maybe not as intense as a Honda VTEC engine cover. And this is a way more suited, very light textured black. You can see it fairly reflecting the light. Anyway, let's put this down. Yeah, look at all that Harbor Freight tooling there. This is an HPS air filter. It's an oil filter, like a K&N. I was really hoping to get out of the oil business. I don't like having to clean it. They get nasty here in Arizona. They get full of sand real quick. So hopefully, maybe later down the road, I've already spent too much money on this so far in my car so far that I'll replace these with some dry flow. But some general dimensions, the element. The element is just shy of 6 inches. Overall length is about 8 inches. The minor diameter, if you want to call it that, is, come on, little almost 4.5, maybe 4.4 inches. A larger diameter, this one, I have to eyeball this one. It's about 6 inches. So with those dimensions, I'll probably replace it with something. This one, unlike any air filter I've seen, does have a stop right here. So there's no guessing where your air filter goes. This has a stop, but this should be 3. I think the tubes are listed on the website as 3 1/4. These are coming out less than 3.2 inches on that inside diameter. Tubes are about, where is that? The tubes are about the same, just a little bit less than 3.2 inches, so not exactly 3 1/4, but slight, close enough. And then back to the filter. They didn't give me some of these nice, they're fancy HP warm gear clamps. These look like regular old stainless steel clamps that you get, for garden hose. They're 70 to 90 millimeters or 3 3/4. I don't think they have a brand on them. They have, Dyna Dyna Flow. So hopefully in my in my bag of clamps, I think these 3-inch clamps maybe will work. I don't know, these T bolts. All right, I'm gonna do some disassembly and I'll try to explain some stuff. All right, so now I got the engine cover off and the Infiniti air deflector, which everybody's wondering, it actually directs flow from behind the grill down into these two air cleaner boxes. And this is kind of what I was talking about. So you can't see it now, but I have some AEM dry flow air filters made for this car. But when I first had them, you could see this big bow, like just bowing out. And didn't really notice, and it broke the tab on this portion of the cleaner. That part was about 110 bucks to replace. I contacted AEM, and they said that, oh, they found a tolerance mess up in their die or in their molds, and as a courtesy, they sent me 2 new ones. But those 2 new ones were actually they were an older run than what I got now. Sorry about the garage heater going on in here, or the heater to the house. I'm in the garage. It's about 60 degrees in here, so the heater's on. I explained to them I don't want to pay for this. I got it, but they sent me 2 new ones, and those 2 are older, and they did the same thing. I'll take this apart maybe in a minute and show you, but it broke this part. But as I was doing some work on some catch cans, I noticed that this side of the box is now damaged. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a pretty thick crack in there. I come over here, and I think if I'm lucky, this box that I had to replace on the other side did not break, but this part broke. There's a break there, and it goes all the way through. There's also, I don't know if you can see it, but down in here on both of them, what those filters did is they actually bowed the plastic to the point where there's just a little tiny air gap. You can put a flashlight and you can see the gap. I don't think I'll do that. It'll be too much camera work. Anyway, the damage is done. These boxes, these air cleaner boxes are shot. Let's see. One thing I saw some Amazon reviewers doing, saying that they trim, because they had problems with fitment as well. Let's get this mass airflow sensor out of the way. Get over there. Oh, son of a biscuit eating. Anyway, let's see if we can. I'm going to put this down. Here's the AEM dry flow. There was an edge, and I have the new ones, but they're still in the package in the house. I don't feel like getting them. There was just like a little seam or a seal, and it actually was just way too thick, and that's what was making that air cleaner just bow and look gross. Nah, that's too new. I can't show you the crack, but that's kind of why I'm going with this cold air ram. It's not that I believe in cold air unless you're actually, but in this case, hold on, in this case, I really think this will be a cold air intake. What's going to happen is that there's going to be an air filter from the HPS. It's going to be located right about here, just where this air deflector will actually put air right into that filter. One part of the kit I wish I had, or wish they did. Let me see, I'm going to pause real quick and I'll get to that. So, let me see if I can do this. Right about here, there's 2 grommets that holds. This is held on with only 1 bolt and 2 grommets down there. Their kit's going to utilize some adapters that go in there, and I got a screw in that heat shield, which is kind of important for supporting all this tube and stuff. But I really wish they had made it so I can put the heat shield there, maybe slide underneath, maybe make adapters or something. I'm going to look into, since these boxes are shot, I might either drill a hole through there to hold that heat shield. I don't know exactly how that's going to work out, or maybe down the line modify those heat shields so I can keep this box. Because what will happen, air will go into this air dam, down into this little duct, and shoot that. There's like a Ooh, you can't see it. There's like a little deflector in here, and it'll send the air straight into that air filter, which will be kind of in this position. So I'm gonna play around with that. I probably won't get it done and I'll just get this installed so I can play around. But I really wish HPS would do that, make it so I can keep this little tunnel thingy majiggy, because there's no filter there. It goes on the other side. All right, so I'm gonna start putting this together to the instructions and see how it goes. So as I'm taking this apart, I am noticing that this little spring clamp, which is way better, way quicker to work with, especially if you're on the side of the road, I get to use these clamps on the manifold to this little tubey diggy there, and they're the same hose. So, and almost just coincidentally, right about the same length. I actually put my, and it's already got the nice Peyronie's disease pre-curve here, and looking at it, this is actually an Aeroquip hose that I got. This is a way nicer hose than the Chinese EPDM. Isn't that a rap band from the 80s? EPDM? Something like that. Anyway, I will be reusing these nice hoses, and thank God. I mean, I couldn't believe how perfect a fit these will be. Step 11. Insert short side of the coupler into the driver's throttle body along with the provided clamps. Now, God, this fits really loose. You can almost, yeah, this thing is really loose, but it's not a turbo, so I should be okay. But oddly, this knee wow tube off eBay fits on there way better. Actually, you kind of have to really try to get it on there. Part of me wants to cut this coupler down to that size, but it will not fit the aluminum tubes. Sorry about Knight Rider in the background, but this, I think they could have done better with that somehow. I'm not sure exactly how. Maybe have a more of a custom tube. It is branded, but I think they could have done better. Did you know Knight or Kit can drive on water? That's the first I've seen that. Step 13, insert provided M6 bungs into the factory airbox grommets. That's these two guys. This is where I wish somehow I could adapt the plate with the factory air cleaner box to get the air to go whoosh. Step 16, remove mass airflow sensor from the factory tubes and install it into their tube. Lucky you can't put these in backwards. I'm glad Nissan did some kind of design. Otherwise, I was a little worried because this is symmetrical and there's not really, doesn't look as obvious as this one, but it only goes in one way. Also, this little kind of cutout, they also incorporated in that there is a little rubber cylinder that fits in there. It doesn't feel as positive as the factory one, so let's see, it doesn't feel as nice as the factory one. Somehow the factory just pops in. This one, I almost feel like I might, I don't know, I'm not going to put any O-ring grease on there. That's just silly, but I'm going to have to be a little bit more careful installing this into the HPS tube. So I got the mass airflow sensor in, and I think I know why it felt a little weird. The O-ring gland in the aluminum tube is just a little shallower than the one in the factory airbox there, so the O-ring goes a little squishy when it goes in there, but it fits well. There was a little schmutz probably from the powder coat. I didn't get a second look, but these went in a little hesitant. I almost felt like I was going to strip them, but wasn't too worried. I could re-tap them if I have to, but they do go in. There's just some powder coat in there. Just keep screwing. Step 17. I think, did I say the last step was 17? This is 17, is to install the heat shield. One screw goes in here, and I already installed that one previously. There's a little bracket underneath. I guess it helps make those two rubber grommets one single unit for rigidity. And this went in pretty easy. It's let's see. It's a tight fit in there. I assume the other side's going to be even tighter, but downside, you can see this little tube rubbing right against it. That's going to my oil catch cans that I spent all weekend doing. So I'm gonna have to either buy more hose, reroute this, or maybe add some of these really ghetto generic chafe guards made from wire loom. Down there, this little tube that you see through there, that is the other part of my my oil catch cans. That's got a little bit of rubbing going on, so I might be able to use this heat shield to my advantage. Maybe I'll make some of those, drill a hole on the side and make some kind of smooth piece of plastic, print it, or make something. But that's another hurdle or thing I had to come across. But these screws actually miraculously tightened pretty well, seeing that the little bung just goes into a rubber grommet. I thought there'd be some spinning, but that screw bolts in pretty tight. Well, I didn't read the instructions right. Before I put this heat shield in, I was supposed to put this trim in. Uh, this is odd. I thought the trim was going to go along the edges, kind of like what you see on a K&N or any other filter, to kind of seal against the hood, but this won't go near the hood. It's a little long, and this honestly has been the most difficult part of this whole process, is putting this thing on. But I'm gonna guess where my trim, and then I'll finish putting it on. A little snippy snip, and it's in. Not pretty, not perfect, but hopefully it'll be down like this and no one will see it. Next oddity, the next step tells you to put this filter in through the hole, and it's okay, but what happens, it doesn't fit through here, so you kind of have to like really, kind of feels gross, but I guess you won't be able to get to that little screw easily, so you gotta do what you gotta do. Also with this in, oh come on, it just doesn't, I don't know, it's gonna go like that, so my little idea of scooping air to there may not be the most optimal. Also, it's gonna be weird to get to that clamp. Maybe the clamp goes on the other side, we'll see. Alright, next oddity was trying to get where this tube goes. I've done a lot of cold air intakes and home brews and never had this much trouble. It's a matter of getting this to go, following this right, and then this thing is really not supported. Like I said, I've tried shoving this. There's a huge gap here. I'm gonna keep trying, but this hose does not fit this geometry. If I shove this tube more into here, this hose just starts to run into this radius right here. Man, I've been fandangling for a little while. This is not the hardest, but the longest part. And also trying to get this tube to keep it from crimping. I could probably trim it, but honestly, I don't think that's going to help. Pictures and the instructions don't quite explain how this goes, but I'm battling the curve, the breather hose, and this filter hitting a thing that we really appreciate here in Arizona is air conditioning. Right now I can get my hands in there, which is good, but this thing kind of fits a little better if I pull it forward, but then if I pull it forward, air filter hits. But I don't think it's going to get any stiffer once I clamp it up, so eventually I'm going to probably make some brackets, something real simple. I have a bunch of little brackets there, maybe come over here, bend it, and bolt something in here just so it ridges, makes it more rigid. And then the same thing, I'll probably try to make something over here, but I might keep fadangling with this and see what I can do. Well, that's about as best I can do. Let's move this. So, as I move this pipe forward, it'll pull this right out of the grommet. This does not bolt in. But I got it to work. This tube, not crimped. It's a pretty rigid tube from Aeroquip. Clamps don't look really that great because it's kind of on a curve, but it'll do. And then, as for gap, there's still maybe 1 finger gap there, and this side, tried my hardest to make sure it's not butting up against the what do you call it, throttle body, but there is just a tiny little gap. Again, they don't explain quite, but it's weird because in this photo they show the clamp to the air filter on this side, but over here they show on this side, and there's just no way that fits through that hole, so I wouldn't put the clamp, the clamp on this side. So I take it this side's done. I'm not going to be able to build a bracket. I'm not sure if I'll even include it in a video. Seems how long. Let's see how long before I edit this video. But again, once you get my thumb out of there. Once you get it in there, it's pretty firm, but as you wiggle it, nothing really hits anything. I just gotta worry about my oil catch can hoses. This one down here seems okay. This one a little tight, and I'm just too tired to do all that stuff tonight. But well, that's the driver's side, so I'll get the passenger side in real quick. I really need to learn how to read. I was also supposed to put that leftover trim piece here. I guess that will prevent some rubbing against the metal frame, which is pretty good. Good calling them. And I also forgot to put these bolts in with washers. My bad. Another damn situation. I try to put this trim in. It gets in the way of that bracket that goes from bolt to bolt. Get some of this light out. It kind of gets in the way. Also, I believe it's pushing it too far back because right now this heat shield hits part of my air conditioner. If I do this, you can see that there's some weight on the bracket. It's definitely on it. I can't even put this awesome Rock Auto magnet between there. Also, what they don't tell you, I'm looking at the instructions here. Let's see if I can point it out. Right there's something red or orange, and it looks like some kind of chafe guard. It's spiral. It almost looks like a silicone heat insulated tube, but it's not, because there's no way you're going to take this apart just to put that tube on. So it looks like they wrapped something around there. They didn't include that or even mention that. How about that? I'm going to remove that little insulating strip, and maybe it's supposed to go on the car. I can't tell, but I think it's going to fit better if I take that off. Well, that took too long. I got it in. Did not put that extra piece there. I actually punched some holes with my handy dandy Harbor Freight hole punch. That suggests you actually get one. You never know when you need one, like today. That's probably the second time I used it, but I'm glad I had it. You can see I cut quite a big gap, almost defeating the purpose of a heat shield. And then I use the trim. Let's see, I use the trim right here. This is just like a little bracket or isolator, but there's actually like a clamp. So it's kind of, I didn't want metal on metal, and I got tired of cutting holes to make this thing fit. But you can actually see, can I get something flat? Or you actually see how that AC line really gets in there. So made a big gap. I'd rather have air conditioning than a fancy schmancy cold air intake. But as I did that, this is now somewhat in. Really not that great. I really need to make some kind of other bracket somewhere, but just loose as a dog. All my bolts are, I'm checking all my, you can't see back there, but both bolts are pretty tight, and after I did that, now I'm going to have to readjust this tube. Oh my god, this thing should have been a little quicker, especially for the $400 you pay for these kits. Alright, I'm going to try to readjust that and get to the other side. Alright, passenger side went in a little easier. I was able to use the weather stripping. It kind of makes it a little firmer, but whoo-wee. Can we get some light in there? That is cutting it close. The upper radiator hose is actually hitting. Son of a bitch. And so I might put the hole punch to some use, but I don't know. I'll figure it out. Well, she's in, but it's not in its final state. Right now you can probably, I don't know if you can tell, it is not symmetrical, which drives me crazy. This one kind of follows plane. This one kind of has to come up a little bit, but that's the only way I could go. And let's see if we can get a flashlight. So the only way I could do, I had to adjust all this hose just in order to clear that hose, and there's a loom underneath. So I'll probably end up making those holes bigger than they need to be. Also, probably what I'm going to do this weekend, probably make a bracket from here to here and from here to here maybe. And then hopefully it can readjust all this stuff. Like I said, this needed more adjustment than a damn corset or something like that. I don't know. I'm not very funny. Anyway, this took a lot of adjusting. Just frustrating getting it in there. And then my Arrow Quip hose was just a little too short. So I am using the Chinese EPDM rubber hose, but I'll order some more. That fancy Arrow Quip hose. Then I'll also probably have to get to adjust this down as soon as I get some holes fixed on there. But this overall thing is really not, it's not that great. I mean, it is wacky. I don't even know if my cover will fit. And for $400, I expect it just a little bit better built. Also, let's see. There's a huge gap right here that I just couldn't get rid of because of the what do you call it? The holes. Since it's this one's a little loosey-goosey, so I'm going to have to keep an eye on. This one's nice and firm because there's hardly any gap on this, but they don't give any provision to put this. I mean, not like I'd want it on the hose, but they didn't think about that. They didn't think about the looseness. This mass airflow harness is going to sit there. Air conditioner, what a problem that was. But like I said, it's kind of one of my only few options other than spending the same money on OEM parts and hope they don't break. For the install, not a lot of tools. Not a lot of tools unless you consider Mr. Punchy right there. Pliers to get spring clips on, body panel, plastic rivet remover, a deburring tool if you're like me and you had to cut holes. And I believe I used a 7, an 8, and a 1/4 inch socket. And that really is pretty much all you need to put one of these in. So tool wise, it's simple. The way it looks and the ease of install, not so great. Oh, so I forgot to say, this hose, they could have done something better with this. I don't know. This is something I did on my own or on that other intake, and just kind of shoddy. Rubs, there's a lot of rubbing things that I gotta figure out or do something. There's no way of avoiding this. It's in their picture. Same thing with that one. It's in the picture that way. They could have done maybe angle this tube that way. It wouldn't be that hard. And I don't think it's gonna mess up any kind of Venturi or any kind of fancy vacuum going on. Your PCV valve on this is down there somewhere else. So PCV wise, that's not what this does. This doesn't really do much. Anyway, they could have thought this out a little bit better. I don't think this intake system's really what's the word, researched. I think they made it fit and they went to market with it. I think it could use some refinement, but I'm a smart guy. I can figure that out. Well, she's running. Honestly, I at first kind of give me a little sput, a little, but I honestly think that's probably because it's cold. It's 50 degrees here in the garage late at night. Getting air things, checking all these things. I'm gonna put the cover on, see what happens. One thing before I go for a test drive, ran it for a while. It's nice and warm. Didn't get any check engine lights, but the idea of using the factory air box as a way to get fresh air, not going to be needed. If you look at right here, this is the air deflector, and it goes right into this heat shield, which is kind of cool. I think I'm kind of almost hitting right here. This gasket might fall off. That's kind of something I put in there because the OEM rotted. But it looks like we're going to be getting fresh air in there and some vroom vroom noises. Let's check the other side. Oh yeah, that air box. This is something I just couldn't anticipate until getting it all done, but that air box looks like it goes in there pretty good. So we're going to be getting some fresh air in there. So in a roundabout way, I guess this is a cold air intake. Go for a test drive. Alright, this is me kind of just cruising at 25 miles an hour. Got the windows rolled down. You can hear. You'll hear probably more exhaust than intake. Unlike a G37, you hear that intake like crazy if you have a cold air intake or some kind of fancy schmancy intake. The exhaust is loud on my, what was loud on my G37, but the intakes are loud on this car. The intakes aren't going to be so loud, but I have the window rolled down. A little cold, it's 10:45 at night, and I'm going to try not to be an a-hole to my neighbors, but we'll see. Alright, so I'm just kind of giving it idle, punching it. Oh yeah, if it helps any, I kind of live in the back country. I live pretty much nowhere. Okay, I rolled the windows up. Let's see what we hear. Alright, yes, the intakes are definitely loud. Make sure I turn my radar jammer on. Not really speeding much, but definitely want to stay off the police's radar. Okay, that was my stock tune. I have, like I said earlier, I have an up rev tune on this, and it was tuned for the panel filter, so hopefully we can get that retuned soon. But let's you won't be able to see that, but I switched to the, what do you call it, the tune. The other one, the one I had on, was stock. So I'm just giving a little gasket up this hill. Let's go down this hill a little bit. Alright, open it up. Doesn't sound much different, but when you have a tune, it definitely pulls a little harder. Alright, just because it's cold air and I got decent gasoline, I'll go to the race tune. I think I'm gonna cruise around. We'll probably edit this out, but I'm going to turn around as soon as I can. There's a car coming, so anyway, this is race tune. I'll probably slip. We'll do a 0 to 60. Ready? Oh, of course I'm going downhill, so it'll be a little quicker. A little miss there, a little slip. Oh shit, went a little faster. But I think you get an idea. It definitely intakes are nice and loud. If I could give you my butt dyno rating on this, factory filters is this. Let's go highest. This is definitely probably the most pull I've got off the car with these intake tubes. Second from that would be the OEM tubes with the panel filters and without the air deflector on, so you just have like almost like an open element. And then from there would be the homemade silicone coupler tubey thing that I had on at the beginning of the video, and then last but not least, paper filters with the factory tubes. So definitely, after all said and done, I definitely like this setup more. It has a meaner growl to it, but it's gonna need definitely need some, what do you call it, some adjustments, some brackets, little things that make it better. If you're not able to make that kind of stuff, I'm not sure if you should be buying this. Panel filters is probably the best way to go and get the HPS silicone tube kit if you can get it. The black one has not been available. You could probably get a blue one off eBay or Amazon for about 200 bucks, maybe a little less if you're lucky. But for some reason I did not want blue, plus my boxes are breaking, so this is what I almost want to say stuck with. So I've driven at least 40 miles with the intakes, and so far, but I'm not getting any check engine lights, but I do notice a little whoop whoop, a little sputter. Usually when I bip the throttle. Before, it kind of wasn't the best. It wasn't anything compared to a G car, but it was there. But now think it's hard to really show on camera, but yes, it kind of, I guess with those big intakes, sucking all that air in is not great for the engine. But the other thing, which is not so great, it's probably not a deal breaker for anybody except for me because I'm ignorant. If you're going at high speeds and you throw this thing into neutral, I have a feeling it's those bigger air tubes. The engine's trying to suck in a lot of air, and the mass airflow sensors are not really accounting for them, and so the throttle will actually drop below any RPM that the engine can handle, and it'll basically die. And so you freak out because all these lights are on, and you can't really notice that the engine's not running because this car is so smooth. Again, I saw all these lights and I about freaked out, but let's see, I'm gonna try to perform it for you. This actually happened in the city, but I've been trying to reproduce it, and I can't seem to get it to do anything below 65 or 70, but I'm gonna throw it in neutral. There you go, first try on camera. But like I said, you get your power steering's a little weak, your braking's not so great. You could always just start it back up. Kind of unsafe to do that. Let me put it back in drive. But like I said, most people probably don't do that. And you're asking, why do I do that? Why does Dayho do that? The bearings in this car are amazing. Even with 66,000 miles on the odometer, I can get to a decent speed really quick, and I dump that in neutral, and I can coast for an amazing long time. Especially when I know there's a stop coming up, I can coast pretty long time. But again, that's something that's not great. Let's see, I don't even know what speed that was. You can see it on the camera, but I'm doing almost 60, and if I throw it in neutral, you can see, not too bad. Like I said, for city driving, it did it to me once. So there you go. So far, so good. Insulation was a little bit of a bitch. Throttle's a little different, and this whole neutral thingy. All right, thanks. Well, the weekend's around, and I've had some time to fidget with it. I spent hours trying to get brackets made. It's way too tight, so I busted out with Mr. Punchy there and made these holes. I know it's not, you can't tell, but you can see right here where I cut another hole and I kind of rounded it off. Would have been a lot easier if this was made out of aluminum, but no, this is made out of steel. Mr. Punchy goes right through it like it's nothing, but again, it would be a little easier to work with if it was aluminum, and I wouldn't have to worry about rust. I live in Arizona, rust isn't a big issue, but either way, I don't like shiny stuff, so I had to touch up some spray paint, hope that all works out well. Now, it may not look like it, but there's now room underneath this radiator hose, and down here it's clearing the harness. Like I said, this is taking a while. And here's a homemade bracket. I don't know, it's just scrap metal, but powder coated it. It's like a Harley black. I don't have wrinkle black and powder coat, but hey, what the hell, it almost matches. Alright, well, that's in. You can't see, but I had to get Mr. Punchy again to clear that harness, but plenty of room all the way around. Not much of a heat shield anymore with all the holes in it, but I said after hours of making this homemade bracket, this one's actually pretty stiff, but no matter what I did, there's still, I would say, 3 fingers in there. This thing, there's no way this could ever butt up right there. The angles aren't right, the length isn't right. I got 3 fingers there and maybe almost touching, maybe half a finger, my fat finger at least. Got this side in. That's not so bad, but oh god, there's about 2 fingers right here. You can even see that. That's just this thing. I've been wrestling on this dirtiness. I don't know what it is. That came that way. I've been trying to clean it, and they were not clean from the start, but must be some kind of film, some preservative. Anyway, I got this side in as well. This side fits a little bit better, almost flush with the cone. Nice and sturdy, and if you look closely, I am using a Schlitz can opener or beer opener, bottle opener, something opener, but it's Schlitz, but powder coated as well. Speaking of that being flat, no matter what I did, I could not get this to fit flat with this. One day I might be making brackets from the fenders, but these are actually pretty sturdy now. And as stated in a previous video, if I'm going about 70 miles above, put it in neutral, it just bogs out. This tube is just too big. That's my best guess at the mass airflow. So airflow sensor just can't account for that air, which makes me worry about how this engine's running with unknowing its mix or air, whatever. But I do have a tune on it. Maybe that's why it's acting up, but I am going to probably be going back to the tuner. I've had some other issues, but it's more of a transmission issue. But I'm going to get retuned. I also checked my oil catch cans. Everything's nice and tight and nice and snug, so that is not the reason why my engine's dying when I throw it in neutral at high speeds. Well, I think that's that.